Hey everybody, it's Mike. Welcome back to the studio. So I've had a lot of people contact me with questions with both the 150 to 600 Sigma that I've got, and I did some changes to it, so I thought I would give you a little update. And I also had somebody else ask me if I could talk a little bit about the dock system. So let's get into it. First of all, what do I think of the lens? Still love the lens. Absolutely love it. I did change the way that I was using the lens, so I'll go through really quickly what happened. I was out using it about a month ago, and the camera that I was using it on, Canon 70D, just like this one, I had issues with one of the dials in the back of it that it wasn't working correctly. Because I use that dial quite a bit when I'm out on shooting with this lens, I decided that what I was going to do was come back to the studio and switch out one of the 70Ds that I keep at the studio and use this lens with the new 70D. When I did that, I realized I'd have to take the adjustments and so on and so forth and transfer them to the new camera. And I decided that this would be a good time to go and try something, well, radical, I guess you could say, and go in and reset everything back to factory specs and do the adjustments from that point. Now, as I've said many times, and I tell my students this constantly, and I tell people who make rude comments on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, I don't sell test shots. So I don't sell a perfectly in focus shot of some test chart. I don't sell some balanced image from what I've shot in the studio. I sell work I do with my equipment, whether it's photographing a person, whether it's photographing an animal, whether it's photographing a scene, whatever it is. I don't sell the test shots. So just because I can come back and I can adjust this to a test chart doesn't mean that it's actually going to work when it's in the field. So I decided that I would try something completely different. So I reset everything. I did write down all the specs off of the other camera, and I did write down all the specs off the lens, and then I put them in the drawer, and I reset the new camera to make sure that it was at 0 everywhere for micro focus fine adjustment. And then I attached the lens to the dock and I reset it. And then I decided to go out and take some pictures. And I shot for a few weeks with it, and I found that I was getting just as many in-focus pictures as I was with the other camera adjusted. Now, whether that be the other camera was off, there could be many different things. But I found that it was probably just as good, if not better, than the setup I had before. So I've continued to use it as that. But I also continue to go through and check every time I shoot a picture if it's out of focus to figure out why. Is it the camera, the lens, the photographer? Many times it's the photographer. And I have gone through and I made sure that the software has been updated and so on and so forth on the lens. So I am quite happy with the lens still. I'm quite happy with the camera combination. But when I did that change, I also at the exact same time decided that I was going to change my camera bags that I was carrying. And to give you an idea of what I carry for camera bags is when I go on the road, I have 3 camera bags minimum. First camera bag is all my GoPro gear. And that's what I use to do the videos and stuff when I'm kayaking, when I'm cycling, and so on and so forth. Second camera bag is for the 70D and the 150 to 600, as well as a couple of my other lenses that I usually don't carry with the third camera bag that I have. So I carry the macro lens with this. I carry a couple other lenses that I just don't have with me all the time with the other bag. And then the third bag is a 5D bag, and that's the 5Ds, a couple of lenses for it, flash, so on and so forth. That bag is more what I call my location photo studio bag, where when I'm going out to take people's portraits and so on and so forth. But it also works for me when I go out to do scenery pictures or when I go out to do flower pictures or stuff like that. So carrying those 3 bags was getting to be kind of ridiculous because whenever I loaded up the vehicle, it was literally at least 2 trips, possibly 3 trips to just take camera bags out. So I changed things up, and how I changed it up was I actually put the GoPro bag, I unpacked it and put it into one of the vehicles because it's usually the vehicle I have with me when I'm shooting with GoPro. And then I decided that instead of carrying extra body here for just this lens and then bodies in the other bag, that I would start using this lens a bit more on the 5Ds when I'm out shooting with the 5Ds. But I would also use the 70D when I was just going out to shoot with the big lens. So I decided having this lens adjusted for anything was a waste, because if I adjusted it for this camera, when I put it on one of the 5Ds, it would be different. So I went through and like I said, I reset this lens completely back to the factory specs. And how has it been working? Well, on the 70D that I'm using it on, it works great. On the 5Ds I'm using it on, it works great. So as it sits right this minute, there is no adjustments made to this lens. But because today is a holiday in Canada, it's actually July 1st, it's Canada Day, I decided that I would come in the studio and that I would do a couple tests with it just to see if it is as accurate as I want it to be. And I will adjust just the lens, not the body, if there is a problem. So I thought I would show you today, at the request of a couple people, how I do that adjustment. So before I get started, there's already another video, and I'll put a link to it down below, that shows you how I do the micro focus fine adjustment for the camera. The way that I do that is very similar to how I do this lens, but only instead of adjusting in the camera, I adjust it on the lens. So let's get started. First thing, you take the lens off the camera body. I set it up right like that. I then take the cover off the dock, put it onto my camera, take the dock, and I put it onto my lens. I will then go through using the dock, and I will check to make sure that my firmware on the lens is up to date before I do anything. There's no sense doing adjustments on anything if there's a firmware update, because firmware may change things, and it may change how you adjust it. It may change the accuracy of it, so on and so forth. So if you're going to use the dock, if you have the dock, update the firmware first, try the lens again, and then do your adjustments. So for the sake of time, I'm going to explain to you how I do the adjustments, and I'm not going to show you all the running back and forth and everything. But what I do is I go into the studio, I set up the lens onto a tripod with the camera, and I take some test shots. I then come back, I put the test shots on the computer, and I see where it is in focus and where it is not in focus. I check out the 150, I check out the 600, I check out the ranges in between, and I check out the different apertures. And I just see what's in focus and what isn't. Now, like I've also mentioned before, I found that with this lens, f9 is the sweet spot. I've tried f8, I've tried f11, I've tried f10, f9 seems to be the sweetest spot. So I leave this on f9, but I will check it just to make sure to see if there's anything that has changed. Because sometimes with a firmware update, sometimes just with jostling the lens, things can change. Sometimes with the camera, things are changed. So I always check it to make sure that everything is where I think it's supposed to be before I start making adjustments. Then, once I've gone through and I've checked everything, if I still find that f9 is a sweet spot, I'll go in and take some more test shots at f9 at all the different ranges that this lens uses. Then I will come back, put them on the computer, and see where it is in focus. Is the focus point the sweet spot, or is it further away or closer? I then do the adjustments from there. After adjusting, I save it to the lens, put the lens back on the camera, go back, take another test shot. Now, all this is done in my studio. All this is done with the test chart itself. But before I finish it, what I will also do is I will go outside and I will do test shots using the camera and the lens as I would normally do it, to make sure that I haven't adjusted it for in the studio using a tripod, using a test chart, but it sucks for the most of the work that I do. Every time that I make a change, I record what I have done, just to make sure that I haven't goofed anything up. So if I move it 5 points to the away from the focus point to bring it into focus, I'll record that so I remember. Then I'll do more test shots. Then I'll adjust it. Then I'll do more test shots. When I go outside, I try it, I come back, I check the pictures, and I continue on from there. I do like the dock. I do find that it has a purpose, but honestly, it's not something that I would say you have to go out and get. The micro focus fine adjustment does work well in camera, but when I'm using it on many different cameras, if the lens has any bias one way or another, I would rather adjust the lens, get rid of that bias so it works good on all cameras. Now, if you're only using one camera, flip a coin. Do it whichever way you find works for you, camera or the lens. If you don't have the dock, do the micro focus fine adjustment on the camera. If you have the dock, do it on the lens. Pretty simple. So until next time, get out there, get some great pictures, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye now. Thank you for watching my video. If you like this video, please click on the like button, which is the thumbs up button. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please click on the subscribe button and then click on the bell next to the subscribe button so you'll be notified when any new videos are uploaded. Thank you and have a great day.